get after it.
Welcome back. Another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast right here and right now. Christian Booher is from CM Life. He is not going to El Paso. Of course, that is from the Central Michigan paper. How's it going, bud?
Good, man. How are you, Casey?
Doing good. Insane week for you guys. I know that you are not kind of the main person covering all this, but I know you've been covering the team all year. But take me through what this week has been like.
Man, it's been crazy. I actually recorded a interview Monday afternoon at 2:30-ish, maybe 3 o'clock, with a beat writer for Boise State. Just previewing the game, the Arizona Bowl, Central Michigan, Boise State. Really was shaping up to be one of the better group of 5 bowl matchups during bowl season. And then as soon as I get off of that Zoom call, I see that Boise State's pulling out of the bowl game due to COVID issues on the roster. And all of a sudden Central Michigan doesn't have a place to play. So then, you got to get on it. You got to start texting and calling people and figuring out what in the world's going on. 6 hours later, you find out they're going to the Sun Bowl. And since then, we just kind of played it by ear. There's a lot of things that, as far as financials go, that maybe we don't know yet. But, at the end of the day, the big story is that they're playing a football game. It just so happens that they took the roundabout way to get there. And it really is one of the most prestigious bowls. You don't really realize it. Maybe it's because it's sponsored by Tony the Tiger, but the Sun Bowl is very historic. And, man, I'm looking forward to watching it. They're going to be on CBS.
Yeah.
It's going to be electric. I think it's going to be very good. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll get into all the details you just mentioned. You just kind of fast forwarding all the big thing. Now it's time to pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
Really just kind of start this week. Just really, did they know whether or not that they were actually going to play after the whole Arizona Bowl, after Boise State kind of dropped out a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We talked to Alonzo McCoy today. He's a senior safety. And his perspective is really interesting because this is a dude who sixth-year senior last year. If there's no eligibility waiver, last year's his last year. And then you get to this year and, you go down to the bowl game. They traveled down to Tucson. I believe they landed Sunday night. Everybody's gassed up, ready to go play in the game. And then you figure out, okay, well, Boise State can't play. Well, now what? And, there was a moment where, guys like Alonzo McCoy realized, guess what? My last football game might have gotten taken away from me. They say that you're guaranteed some odd games in college football. And now with COVID, you're not even guaranteed anything. So, there was a lot of uncertainty. Jim McElwain said the same thing. There was definitely a point in that day Monday where you're like, okay, we're not playing maybe. But, credit to the people in charge behind the scenes, with Commissioner John Steinbrecher and CMU Athletic Director Amy Fullen, both of them. Sounds like they got right to work and found the opportunity, and now Central Michigan's going to go to El Paso.
For anyone that's met Commissioner Steinbrecher, and I've had the chance to talk to him many times, one of the nicest men that you will ever meet.
Really good guy. Yeah,
really good dude. So they're going to play this. Well, then Miami had to pull out of the Sun Bowl because of rising COVID, but we knew that they had some issues, but they pulled out. But it looks like then they would just go. Why don't they just go play in the Sun Bowl? But they had to get through some hurdles first. Explain what they had to do to get there.
Yeah, so it sounds like they had some issues with because they had to get out of their obligation because technically, you're locked into a contract with the Arizona Bowl. And so one of two things needed to happen, either Barstool Sports, I believe it's the sponsor. I'm not sure if there's like a committee within the Arizona Bowl.
Yeah.
But basically the powers that be either had to just void the contract and get nothing, or they had to settle. And sounds like a settlement was reached. Again, we don't know the details of that yet. And essentially Central Michigan was bought out of their bowl game contract. And then they were able to go play in the Sun Bowl. And it sounds like, obviously the payout for the total payout for the Sun Bowl is around $4.5 million. Obviously they'd split that. And I'm not sure if Central Michigan's going to get that full second half, because, with the timing and things like that, but sounds like they're going to get, a nice chunk of change. So.
And really talking about like networks and stuff here, because this bowl was actually supposed to be on the internet. This was actually
Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, yes.
Of course, obviously everybody knows Barstool. Everybody knows Dave Portnoy and all the crazy stuff he does. But now they go from that to go to one of the biggest, the big four networks. So of course, the Sun Bowl is traditionally held on CBS. The MAC conference doesn't usually get to go on national TV that
Correct. No, they don't have a tie-in.
Central Michigan is now usually when they play maybe like, Big Ten. I mean, I've seen, I think maybe Western has gone on there a couple times, when they play big like Michigan or Ohio State or something like that. No, this is a bowl game. This is one of the most iconic networks, and so I think McElwain had a little bit of a flashback from when he was coaching in Florida, dealing with the SEC on CBS. Of course, they cover the conference for now. And then what's it going to be like? Because I think I read somewhere that they're going to be on national TV for the first time since I think 1974.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the first time since the Division II National Championship game. And basically the big takeaway is that a lot of the alums and people who want to watch the team play are stoked because, this is CBS. I mean, whether you've got, whether you're decided to cut the cord and you're doing like streaming platforms, you can stream it on Paramount Plus. If you've got regular cable television, it's CBS. There's any local channel. Yeah. If you've got a converter box, I think that replaced the antenna a little while back. Like my dad's got one up in his room, a converter box. You can still get CBS, right? Anybody who wants to watch this game can, and that's really exciting for alumni, parents who didn't want to make the trip or didn't choose to make the trip, really just anybody. And it's going to be great for Central Michigan to be on such a big platform because, with ESPN, it's kind of that niche like sports fan audience, but being on CBS, you're gonna reel in a whole new demographic, and I think it's great for the university.
Christian, where's your hometown so people kind of know what you kind of talked about there?
Yeah, I'm from Everett, Michigan. My dad's very old school, and he had an antenna. And the joke is that he never watches TV unless football's on, and you can get Fox and CBS both on the converter box, so he'll never miss the Lions. Obviously, we have regular cable television, but in his room specifically, he has a converter box and a small television. It's crazy.
It is.
But I love that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Everett, Michigan is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a small town.
Yeah, it's on, I think, the west. Okay, why don't you explain?
Okay, so.
Yes, yes. You're from Michigan when you have to show your hand somewhere.
Here-ish.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
These people came for a show. We're going to give it to them.
Well, that's what they always come for on my channel.
Oh, you already know. I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yep. I mean, that's why we got this. So kind of go into this is being on TV is a big deal. But let's talk about the matchup. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this could still get canceled, postponed, or anything like that. But it looks like that was also asked today as well.
Yeah, it was addressed, and Jim McElwain said that his team, and not just his team, but the entire travel party really is fully vaccinated. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. But also you have to explain what that means, though. Fully vaccinated means that, but you don't know if they had the booster shot or not.
Right. That wasn't clarified.
All 3 shots.
Yeah, it could, but it wasn't clarified.
Okay.
So that was just really interesting tidbit. But it is going to be interesting to see whether or not this thing gets played. Obviously, the game with UCLA, there's so many bowls I can't figure out. Canceled right like how many hours before kickoff, man? I mean
5 hours.
Yeah, so this isn't a lock until the football, the cleat meets the football and we kick this thing off. So Going to be interesting to monitor and follow, but hey, I'm excited about it. Washington State's a good team, man. Power Five gives Central Michigan a chance to get another Power Five win. Obviously, they don't have any this year, but they kind of ran the gauntlet with Missouri and LSU. Going to be a lot of fun. Two high-powered offenses going at it, and should be a blast, man. Central Michigan's got the lead or the country's leading rusher in Lou Nichols, and chance for him to put on a show on a big stage.
So let's talk about the matchup a little bit. For people that don't know, Wazoo, yes, that's Washington State, and they've had their own different things up in Pac-12 country. But what are we expecting from these Cougars?
So a lot of what they want to do revolves around their quarterback, Jaden DeLora. He's going to be kind of a do-it-all guy. He can really sling it. But at the same time, they kind of run what I like to call, or what's commonly known kind of around the sporting world, as a run and shoot offense, where they like to set up their big plays in the passing game through runs, like zone runs and inside runs. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes about. But this DeLora kid's for real, man. From Honolulu, Hawaii, sophomore. I mean, he's electric. He's a lot of fun to watch. I've had you see the Pac-12 After Dark stuff. He's just fun to watch. This whole team really is. They've got a couple of wideouts. One of them is Calvin Jackson Jr., who's a graduate student. Played at ICC, was actually on the Last Chance U show. I can't remember which season it was. I think it was the first one with ICC, so it would have been like season 3. He's gone on to have a pretty good college career post independence. So, yeah, I mean, this team's loaded with talent, and certainly it's going to be a challenge. And I don't know that Central Michigan's seen much like it, obviously, with the Pac-12 and their style of play. So, going to be fun.
It definitely is going to be fun. Of course, it's going to be fun to watch just to see all these matchups and stuff in there. And that everything's going to be watched, everything's going to be closely monitored, so we don't have any more issues. But what do we expect from the Chips now? What are we looking at?
That's a great question. Going to be interested to see how they match up. It's going to be interesting to see how they start. They've against Kent State and Western Michigan, they fell behind 14-0 in both games, came back and won both big. So to me, that's kind of what's going to tell the story for me. How do they start? And then how do they adjust with the run game? Because if Washington State takes away the run, then what? How does Daniel Richardson respond? And it's going to be really interesting. And I think it's one of those things that it's going to be hard for Central Michigan. Look, it's going to be hard for Central Michigan because you've got what, 5 days of game planning?
Yeah.
And a 5.5-hour bus ride. I think it's 4.5. According to Google Maps. But looking at Washington State's defense, they allow 4.7 yards a carry. So that's music to Lou Nichols' ears. Look, at the end of the day, I think that if there's something that's going to set Central Michigan back, it's going to be that lack of preparation, simply because it's hard to game plan for a team on such short notice. It's one thing like in the NFL when they have those Thursday night games, but you at least know those teams are on your schedule. This is taking a team that you had probably no idea about. I mean, they don't have any common opponents. And all of a sudden you got to go play them in 4 days for a bowl game. So going to be really interesting. Central Michigan certainly has the talent to keep up in this one, but that preparation, man, that's what I'm going to be watching for.
And again, remember, there was a bunch of high school teams this year that had to prepare games the day of. So
yes,
talk about quick turnaround.
I remember that. Yes,
there is. At least they're getting that, because there were teams and there was still remember all the shuffling of matchups and all that. So yeah. I mean, we should be used to playing that at this point, because you never know.
Yeah.
You're just going to go out there and just go play. But it's definitely going to be fun for sure. And, of course, they're still in Arizona.
Yes, they're still in Tucson.
Because they're supposed to leave for El Paso tomorrow.
I believe so, yes. They had some Arizona Bowl stuff. They went to Top Golf last night. just getting to take it all in while they had the opportunity, I think was important. And yeah, man, I mean, it looks like they're having a good time down there. So.
All right. Well, Christian, thank you so much for coming out and previewing this really big matchup. Of course, they'll
Yes,
be
sir.
on New Year's Eve at noon on CBS. Watch it because you probably will. All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy the game. You're not going to be down there. Of course, you'll have a colleague down there as well.
Yep.
And, we will talk to you soon, man.
Sounds good.